Most of you should be able to do this. Alright, so what we're going to build next is to use the duplicate special tool to build this temple structure. Alright, so we will start from a new scene, and once you are done with the temple structure, I want you to put it aside. I think by then it should be time for you all to go for your break. So I'm going to start from a brand new scene. Okay, so you can actually build the entire temple without changing your views here. You can use the perspective view entirely. So we'll start off first by creating a cube, and then we're going to change the shape of the cube, the size of the cube, so that it covers this entire grid. So we're going to go over to the channel box and then click on the inputs, the polycube, and we're going to highlight both the width and the height. Alright, and then middle mouse click and drag. Sorry, not width and the height, it's the width and the depth. Middle mouse click and drag. I just want these two, width and the depth. Let me undo that again. And then middle mouse click and drag. Yeah. So I want to scale it up until it fills up the entire grid. Then I'm gonna select it, press W, move it down until the grid is visible. Next, I want to create the columns for this temple. So just hold down to Shift, right mouse click, create a cube. Okay, make sure nothing is selected when you do that. And we're going to move the cube down to this point here. So hold down to your X key and then grab only the green box here and then drag it until it snaps to this location here. Right, so we're going to create 10 poles, or actually 11, right, so that it will duplicate until it hits this point here. And we're going to use Edit, Duplicate Special. Go to the option box. Going to reset this. We're going to create an instance. Okay, and then we are going to create 11 copies. And then I want you guys to understand how these, how the values work. The translate, right, we're going to translate this across here in the negative value. So if you look at the arrow here, anything that goes this way is positive for the z-axis. Anything that goes behind here is negative value. So we want the cube to be duplicated and moved along this direction. So we need to translate it along the z-axis. So we know the three boxes here stand for x, y, and z. So for z, right, I want it to move every 2 units. So -2. Okay, and then I want to create an instance so that when I do any changes to the master object, okay, the instances will follow. So then now I can click on duplicate special. So once you have done that, you can see that the duplicates are now done. Now I want my columns, right, of course not to be cubes like this. So I want them to be tall. So I'm going to right mouse click and select the original cube. Right mouse click and go to face selection mode. Then I'm going to click on the top face. Okay, and then I'm just going to move the top face up. I'm going to press Alt 5 so I can see the wireframe. Alright, so now I got this whole row of faces raised up already. Okay, the next thing is I want to bevel the corners. So first I'm going to select the edge here, and then holding down the Shift and double click so that all the edges around are selected. Then I'm going to use the command Ctrl B to bevel, and I'm going to give a fraction of 0.6, right, so that now they will appear like pentagons or hexagons. No, actually octagons. Alright, so once you've done that, we can exit. Next thing I want to do is I want to recreate these columns right over to the other side. So I'm going to select all of them, right, and you can manually duplicate them. So I will press W, holding down the Shift, and then clone them, and holding down the X, I'm going to move along the X-axis, right, until it snaps to place. So now I've got 2 sets of columns on both sides. Okay, next we want to take the floor and then use it to create the roof. So holding down the Shift, I'm going to clone this so that now it rests on top like this. I'm going to use duplicate special to create a much more ornate looking roof. So with the top part selected, I'm going to click on Edit and then duplicate special, click on the option box. We're going to reset the settings. We're going to use the same thing, the instance again, but this time we are going to move this flattened cube on the y-axis, move it up in the y-axis, and then at the same time reduce the scale by every time I duplicate, right, you go down by 20%. Alright, so to do that, you have to change the scale value to 0.8, 0.8, 0.8 for all the axes. And then since we are moving along the y-axis, so x, y, so we're going to want to move it up by every 1 unit. And how many copies do I want? Maybe I try 15. You can do 10 if you want. Then I'll say duplicate special. And then you can see the roof is now being created. Right, 15 of them. Okay, so everything looks nice and all, and you can pretty much end here if you want, but we want to make it look nicer, and let's select all of them and press number 3 and see what happens. It becomes this. So when it's subdivided, it becomes a mess like that. So what can we do to fix this? Well, for the boxes, right, they are in a way, they look more like cylinders right now. So let's fix the columns first. I'm going to go back to level 1, select all of them, press level 1. And I'm just going to select the columns, just drag a box over them and click on isolate select or Control 1 on your keyboard. And then we're going to select only the top faces. So go over to face selection mode. I'm going to select only the top face. And I also want the bottom face to be selected. So since they are actually instance, right, you can shift select, then bottom will be selected. But actually you can do this. You can select this and use select similar. And anything similar to the face will be selected as well. Then I'm going to delete this. So right now, after it's been deleted, if I press number 3, you can see that now, instead of it becoming this needle-like object over here, right, it has become, because there is a empty hole here, it will hold the edge very well, like that. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for this. We'll go to level 2, so you can see there's both the divided and the subdivided version. I'm going to go to face selection, select the top face, select similar, and then delete. And now we have our rounded columns. Now if you see this changing into this green color, right, don't panic, because this has something to do with the transform nodes, okay, or the edit history. Okay, so now we got the columns fixed. Now let's try to fix the floor and the roof. So I'm going to get out of the isolate select. We'll start off with the floor first. This one is very simple. You just need to select the floor and press Ctrl B to apply a bevel with 2 segments, and then reduce it to maybe a small fraction like that, so that if I select on the floor right now and press number 3, it should subdivide nicely. Now let's do it the same for the top. And because this is the master and these are the instances, I just need to do it for the master. Control B, and then increase the segments to 2, then holding down the control and hover your cursor over the fraction and reduce it down like that. And there you go. Here is your temple. But take note that right now your outliner is very messy. It contains all of these parts. Now if you want to keep them separate, you can leave it like that, but it's just going to become very messy. You can group them together so that it is much more organized. But what I'm going to do is I want to combine them to form a single mesh. So that's why I'm going to show you the combine again. So to combine all your meshes together, all you need to do is to select all the pieces like that. Then you can go to mesh, combine, or you can hold down the shift right mouse click and then move your cursor down to combine. So after you've combined, all the pieces are now joined together, but if you take a look at your outliner, you still have your transform nodes. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see now there's only one mesh, but all the transform nodes are still there. If you were to delete the transform nodes, okay, then something might happen. It might change green or whatever. So normally what I do before I delete away the transform nodes, this is one thing to let you all know, is that you need to select the mesh object, look at the edit history and delete it away. So the shortcut key to delete away history is Alt Shift and D. Okay, so now the history is gone. Now we can safely delete away all these transform nodes. And now your outliner is much cleaner. And then this is your final result. So I can hide the wireframe, and then you can see that the temple actually doesn't look too bad. So once you're done, please save this, save scene as. We're going to call it the teapot temple. We'll come back to this later. And after your break, right, I'm going to show you how to model a teapot, and then we're going to put the teapot in the center here. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this demo. Okay, so if you can, please use the remaining time until 4 to do your temple. Then after that, I'll release you guys for your break.